up and it's good to go.
Well, the Sierra Club is down here in Cancun with a delegation of 40 staff and volunteers to do anything we can to influence the direction of the UN negotiations, but also to spread the word to the rest of the world as to what's not happening here in Cancun.
What should be happening in Cancun?
Well, there should be real conversation about real compromise. Every country of the world is going to have to make a sacrifice. Some countries are going to lose their shorelines, they're going to lose their species, they may lose their lives, but the developed countries need to give up funding and they need to reduce their carbon emissions. And that's what they've been unwilling to do. They're just posturing, chit-chatting, looking good, but they're not making any progress.
And in terms of domestic issues back at home in the US, what's happening now with the Republicans getting more political power, what implications are there for climate policy?
Yes, well, clouds have gathered over Washington with the latest election results, and of course that has a direct bearing on the UN negotiating team. They feel they have fewer cards to play. So once again, it's all the more important that we get the word out to the American public to recognize the degree of the problem and then to communicate with their representatives.
Hi, my name's Shane Hall. I'm originally from Pennsylvania in the United States, and I have come with the Sierra Student Coalition. There are like 14 or 15 of us here, and I decided to come to the COP16 is my first COP. That's like the fun thing to say. It's your first COP or not your first COP, at least with the youth. And I came because I think climate change is a defining issue of our time.
I hope I don't offend you with this question, but one sort of global stereotype of Americans is that you're not a nation of environmentalists. So could you kind of stick up for Americans? Tell me about the good guys.
The good guys. I've been involved specifically with youth groups. There are many groups and very diverse, but I think just sort of if you, not to offend anybody older than 30, but I've seen, if it's very much a generational breakdown, at least for where I am from, and I think that, we're getting it, and I think it started with, it starts with the scientists doing good work on the ground and in the field, but it's the young people in schools who have first caught that from their teachers and ignited the passion into it, and I think it permeates out from there. So I think, I've seen it happen in my college. There's St. Mary's College of Maryland. It's a small public school in rural St. Mary's County, Maryland, and we tried to set a strategic course to carbon neutrality and just overall sustainability. Some of our early concrete actions were securing binding resolutions to only build through LEED certified systems of energy efficiency at the silver or better level. We've installed geothermal heat energy that was funded and sparked by student government injection. Students voted on a referendum to bring in green power and purchase green energy and promote that. And then have sparked a wide variety of educational programs and more like sort of what seem to be tangible things like starting organic farm on adjacent campus to teach people about the agricultural history and sustainable future of agricultural Maryland, and just different things. But it's that wave, and I think it started in our instance with the young people, and I see that very much across the country. But it doesn't stay with the young people, and it's not just our moment and our movement. It's everybody's movement, and I think that catches really quickly across all sort of barriers and differences. So,
thank you. So, take us to the action. Tell us what you're doing on the way.
Cool. Well, it sounds like, and I'm not sure if I have the best details on everything, but we are showing how, symbolically here, how some nations at these negotiations, which have now been going on for 16 years, have been keeping their heads in the sand like an ostrich and not facing up to the realities and threats of climate change and how to address them. And so I think, I don't know, we're going to have people heads in their sand. I'll probably be getting little sandy in a minute here. I'm already a little sandy. And we'll tape some flags to indicate what countries are being obdurate and not facing up to the truth. And
why don't people face up to the truth on climate change?
I think that even though we have overwhelming agreement about the threats and the dangers, and even somewhat consensus, even though we don't have all the answers of what needs to be done, what actions need to be taken, there are really strong special interests, especially in the United States, from the fossil fuel industry and large agriculture, and these have stood in the way of international consensus and have thrown every wrench they could into the works. And they've done well in the past, but it's been costing them billions and billions of dollars and a lot of effort, and ultimately they are losing, and we are moving forward. So we can have our heads in the sand now, but the tide is coming.
So if the fossil fuel industry has money, what do you have?
Well, the cliche is we have the people power, we have the networks. Technology has allowed us to connect in ways. We've been talking, Sierra Student Coalition has been talking with Chinese youth delegation, Japanese youth delegation, people from Australia, people from Africa, people from South America. This is it's not, even when we're just grouped in a group of 10, 15 people here, we're really representing our friends and families and communities from across the globe. And when you pull that people power, you know that it is going to outweigh the few special interests that are really quite small in comparison, influential in the current global stage, but it's just chipping away time and again. And that's the only option that we have, and that's going to work in the long run.
We came out in Copenhagen with a lot of high hopes, expecting and hoping that our leaders would kind of serve their mandate that we gave them as voters to, especially in the United States, to pass some climate legislation and get a treaty through. Especially as a young person, our negotiators are pretty much, they're dealing back and forth with my future, the future of my friends, my family, and generations to come. And we don't have the time for these games anymore, and that's kind of what we're trying to show here this morning. In the United States, we are the only Western industrialized nation whose right-wing party does not adhere to climate science. The only right-wing major party in all of Western politics. It is absolutely absurd. It is clearly reflective of the way that corporate interests and money runs the politics in this country. We saw with the Supreme Court hearing decision earlier this year that gives corporations the same rights as people. It's very, very clear that our leaders are not following the science, are not following the consensus that's happening in the rest of the world.
Hey, Polar Bear.
Hi.
Hi, why are you smiling?
Actually, I don't have a lot to smile about because my sea ice is melting quite quickly in the Arctic. Well, we are at a climate conference, and although I live in the Arctic, my habitat is melting and we are in danger of going extinct. So the significance is to bring attention to things that are happening in the world, to species like me, to the delegates here in Cancun, and remind them how important it is to agree on a climate deal that's effective.
So when the polar bears start dying out and losing their habitat, would you say that's a kind of warning signal?
Yeah, it's a canary in the coal mine for all of us. And we are dying, our ice is melting and we are starving. And it starts with us and species in the Arctic and sensitive species like corals that we have here in Cancun, and then it goes to everyone else.
The point here that the Sierra Club is trying to make is that the nations of the world are behaving rather like the ostrich faced with danger. Instead of reacting, it sticks its head deep in the sand and hopes that it will go away. And I'm afraid with climate change, that's an idle hope.
Climate change is not about text, it's not about negotiation, it's not about talking, it's about the people. We talk about the environment, but we really want just social justice, and all the people that is suffering in developing countries that have done nothing to deserve all the natural disasters like floods and hurricanes, and it's just unfair. There are people that don't have the power to be here and have their voices heard. So if you believe that we deserve to live in a better and fair world, then let's do it, because the sea level is rising and droughts around the world are occurring, and this is real. Science is behind us. It's not anymore about negotiations and plans, and it's about people suffering, your kids, we, everyone.